Brittany Dubins. I have been wanting to get you on my show for quite a while. I've had a couple of American players, both male, now finally a female, not only the number one in the United States. Brittany, in your own words, who are you?
Oh, well, I would say I am from Miami. I am a paddle player, and I am a good person who has a positive outlook on life and very family-oriented. That's who I am.
I love it. That's beautiful. So tell us your route into paddle. I mean, obviously in the States, it's beginning to pop up. Miami is kind of the hotbed, I would say, in the United States. But when did you first discover paddle, and tell us who was there and why did you start playing?
So I started paddle 5 years ago. I was doing a sort of master's program in Madrid, and it was sort of like a thing that people in the class would do like once a week. So I have a tennis background. I played college tennis at the University of Miami, and so paddle sort of like was like fun, and it was really a hobby at first until I was like, oh, I think I'm pretty good at this. I started playing in the Federation of Madrid, a lot of the tournaments there. Started in the third division, worked my way up to the first division.
And that's saying something in Spain.
Yeah, and Madrid has a very high level. I mean, you have top 50 players in the world in the Federation of Madrid. So played the Masters tournament where only the top 8 teams play. And then about a year ago, I said, okay, I want to start playing FIP tournaments. So it's been 1 year of sort of traveling, playing FIP tournaments. And
so now you can say you're a dedicated pro player.
Yes, exactly.
That's exciting. Did you imagine that would ever happen?
No, I was working. I was working in business development. I have a law background, but my visa was connected to a company, so I was trying to make it work with
work.
Yes, and unfortunately, they weren't as flexible as I needed them to be able to travel and play the tournaments. So it sort of was like one day to the next, I was like, all right, I'm going to quit my job and just dedicate my life to paddle.
Well, you're a little bit like the Martita Ortega of the United States. She's a doctor, you have a law background and business background. Great to have that. And so the transition from tennis, you get to a good level in tennis. I'm always interested to figure out, how do tennis players actually get paddle?
How do tennis players actually get paddle?
Yeah. How do they understand what is paddle? El verdadero padel.
I think at first you think of it as just like this, oh, I can do this. This is easy. There's a racket. It's like smaller.
Same ball.
Same ball. Like, I got this. Like, I can hit my overhead, until you start playing points, and there's like so much strategy, so much like partner that you really have to understand your partner to win points, and it gets a lot more complicated than what it is like at first sight, I think.
Yeah, it's like this. It's easy to start, but then the more you get into it, the harder it gets. It's sort of like you see a couple of trees, and the next thing you know, you're in a jungle, and you've got so many choices, so many things to learn. I mean, the complication of the communication relative to tennis. What about doubles? I mean, I assume you played some doubles tennis. How do you distinguish, or what characteristics do you think paddle doubles is different from tennis doubles?
One thing I would say is, like, in paddle, what's really special about it is the ability that your game has to bring out the best in your partner's game. Whereas I think in tennis, like, if you have a bad day, your partner can sort of like make up for it easier. Whereas in paddle, if you have a bad day, I think it's harder for like your partner to like take over the court and win the match.
Because it's easier to be isolated in paddle.
Right. So that isolation thing. So it's really like the partner really has to bring out your best, even if you're having a bad day, or try to figure it out. And then, I think there's like a lot of similarities in terms of communication, coming up with strategy, fight.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, to what I've talked with a number of excellent players, and talking about the desire, the need to get to know each other off the court, not just on the court. To what extent is that true for you?
Oh, that's so true. Like, I want to not be best friends with my partner, but feel like we have that confidence in each other, and I like to have bonding outside the court. And also I was thinking another thing in paddle, you kind of want a different style of game than your partner, whereas in tennis you can have two amazing baseliners and doubles, or two amazing net players, and like they have the same exact game and you guys dominate. Whereas in paddle, you know the left player is going to be the aggressive player, the finisher, and the right player is going to make a lot of balls. So it's like finding that matchup as well is kind of the difference.
All right, so Brittany, it seems like you've had a very good tournament here in Doha. I don't know what your record was, but it looked like it was very good, despite playing really good players. What was your experience here, and what was the big insight or learning that you made while playing here at the World Championships?
So, yeah, I think overall it was a very positive tournament. We had a very tough group. So we played Argentina and Portugal.
Who are they?
Yeah, they're both semifinalists, you know? Like, I feel like, and honestly, against Portugal, we had, like, opportunities as a team. Yeah. So I think my takeaways are, like, really positive. I feel like we can compete with the best players in the world. We don't get to do it as often as I would like, you know? So that would be, like, a dream to be able to do that on a weekly basis. And it's just been a lot of fun, like adapting to different conditions. In the beginning of the week, it was very windy. Towards the end of the week, you know, we're playing in the morning a little hotter, you know, different. You're like sort of adapting the whole week. I've played with 3 different partners this tournament. So there's been a lot of like obstacles, but it's been super fun. This is my second World Championship, and I feel like I was coming into it with this mindset of just having a lot of fun and fight on the court. And I think overall it's worked out this week.
One of the things that's fascinating, especially when you just said you switched partners 3 times, basically. A lot of the people who are listening will be playing, you know, amateur paddle, and they show up at a game, and the new player, they've picked it on Playtomic, they don't even know the person. I'm interested to see, how do you sort of arrange your partnership with someone who's new to you? What's the process that you might go through in the preliminary? Brittany, I'm playing with you. My name's Minter. You know, of course you know each other, but how do you deal with that sort of first steps to get the motion of the partnership going?
Yeah, I think when you're just starting out with a partner, like honestly today with Danny, we have never played a match together before. I've seen her play the entire week. She's seen me play, but we haven't played a match together. I think we wanted to start the match just making a lot of balls because we're feeling each other out. Right. And we also want good communication in middle shots, you know? So those yeah, and just like mine, yours, and just like not over communicate, but make sure that, you know, they feel like we're on the same page. Right. So yeah, I think that's how I sort of approached it. Make a lot of balls in the beginning, and then you can sort of start coming up with a little bit of a plan. Because
you start feeling out the opposition, the opponents as well. You start figuring them out. What's interesting, what you said, is that part of your communication strategy was actually about communicating to them that you guys are solid.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I did have to adapt because, like, for instance, Carla on her team is a very good defensive player. She loves the walls, can be back there all day. And Danny, who I played with today, is a very offensive player. She wants to get to the net. So for me, I have to make sort of adjustments as well. Like maybe with Carla, I could be the one rushing the net a little more and let her back there defend.
Pick 'em up.
Whereas with Danny, maybe I was the one like trying to mix in more of like the lob or Chiquita so that she could pick off the next shot. So it's been like adapting to those sort of
That's sweet.
partners.
Well, I love that. What about now that you're a pro player, you're dedicated to paddle, tell us about your routines with regard to training. What's key to helping you progress in this sport?
Yeah, so that's been a challenge because I didn't feel like I had like an academy over this year where I had like the confidence with my coach. So this last month I've been working at Diagonal. The main coach is Augusto Lingo. I have a great relationship with him and I feel like it's really helped. They've got a lot of girls there and I feel like I've made a jump even in this last month of training. So it's really like every day, do fitness and try to set up matches during the week, just playing a lot of paddle, but also taking care of your body because it is a lot of tournaments, a lot of travel. So it's finding that balance of not overdoing it, but still like finding your rhythm and working on the things that you need to get ready for the next tournament.
It must be very helpful to have someone like Slingo coaching you, because he's got so much experience playing pro. What does it take? Looking at the mindset. Does he come with you to the tournaments now, or who accompanies you when you play the tournaments?
Honestly, because I'm playing FIP tournaments, a lot of the time my bench is empty. Someone in the academy sometimes can watch the match and give me some pointers there. But I think until you get to the premier level, that's when you usually have the coach. This week, though, with Richie on our bench, it's been wonderful. Like, Richie has really stepped into this role of kind of getting these girls to get thrown in together. All of us have different personalities, different games, and it's a very short week. And I'm not kidding, like an hour and a half on the court with Richie on, I guess it was like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the 3 days we had to train, was really helpful. He came up with awesome drills for us to really just get to know each other. And I think that's probably one of the toughest roles there is, to be the head coach of the U.S. women's paddle team.
Well, I would say I have another great friend who's a trainer for a very good team, and I talked with him about the difference between training or coaching women versus the men's team, and he did say that the women's team, there is a lot more about relationships in the women. It's sort of intrinsic to your gang, whereas men tend to be a little bit more transactional, I would say. I don't know how you relate or react to that.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think women can be a little more like emotional and stuff like that, and
thankfully, I would say.
Yeah, and I feel like Richie does a good job. There are times in the match where maybe like we kind of can go away for like a couple of games, and he's able to like just give us a couple pointers, stay on track, snap us back in. So I really have so much appreciation for him this week. I think he, lineups are difficult, dealing with different personalities, and
you're not having to say to somebody, you're not playing this game, this round. That's tricky.
It's tricky, and I also think as a team, it's never easy not to play, but overall everyone had a great attitude, and the reality is everyone matters and everyone makes a difference. And even if you don't play that day, like having your support on the side makes a difference. Getting to warm up with us makes a difference. So that's also been really nice this week.
My son played squash for Trinity College in America, and they had a 13-year winning streak, not bad, 252 straight matches. Shout out to Paula Sante, but talked about how the bomb squad, which is the people who weren't playing in the top team, in squash it's up to 9, and so from 10 to 24 was the bomb squad, and how important they played in many of the championships that they won. So what about when you were preparing for a match? Your match is coming up in an hour or two. Do you have any quirks, particularities in the way you sort of prepare for the game?
I definitely like a good warm-up, jog around, stretch. I kind of do the same warm-up routine. And I'm actually someone who likes to get a lot of balls. If I can hit on the court for like 45 minutes, like I'd want to do it. Just
because
for
you're
timing.
in shape too.
Yes. And I also like to do like a random lob drill, to go like lob, 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 so I can like feel the, I don't know, like the distance, like you sort of measure it. So it's kind of funny to just watch me and I'm like, can we just do some lobs back and forth? But that's kind of like one thing I like to do.
Oh, I love that. And I think it's also a great insight into paddle. I mean, Gabo Loredo, who I've had on my show, he talks about his favorite shot being the lob. I mean, and in paddle, relative to tennis, the lob is such an important shot. People think of it as typically just a defensive shot if you come from tennis, but it can be a very, offensive shot, the short one or the la bomba,
For sure. And also here it's windy. On one side, you have to go after the lob. You hit it as hard as you can and it still goes in. And the other side, you have to have such touch. It's better to like hit it high and then the wind brings it. So I like to feel that before the match starts.
Which on the other side, when you're receiving those lobs, once they sort of stops in the wind, and if you don't have your feet keeping them moving, that's a tricky shot to move. And if it's keep on going back, it's same difference. Now you got to get your weight back into it, even though it's sort of going over your head.
Yes, 100%. So try the lob drill.
Exactly, love that. What do you think it takes for you to pierce into the top teams, the top levels? Where, I mean, you're obviously a very top player, certainly in the United States. What do you think is going to need for you to get to the next level?
So I think it's one of these things where it would just be nice to be able to play some of these tournaments, like get a wild card into these tournaments. You know, as of right now, there's no Premier or no FIP tournaments in the U.S.
Right.
So it's hard to get enough points in order to get into these bigger tournaments. Right. You know, in this tournament, we were playing against Portugal. They have a top 30 player in the world.
Araujo. She's top 10.
Well, Ana Catarina.
Yeah.
Norway, with an N. I can't pronounce the last name.
I can't remember, Norrera or something
La Portu. They call it. And I feel like we were battling. We were up 5-2 in the first set. And I think it was like, if we got to play that level more often, who knows? Yeah. And it's about building that sort of confidence. Also, like, I don't feel like I have that steady partner. Right. So I've played some tournaments with Marta, and I really enjoyed playing with her. I love her fight. I've played some tournaments with Carla. But I'm also in a lot of these FIP tournaments. Like, Marta lives in the U.S., Carla lives in Denmark. It's not like I'm practicing with my partner, so it's different. Yeah. So I don't know what the exact formula is. I think it's like a lot of things have to link up, and just going for the opportunity when it comes.
What's your favorite shot?
Definitely my por tres is my favorite shot.
Hitting it out. Love it, yeah.
I love it. I feel like that I'm tall. Yeah. I like go for it.
You got some spring in the legs. You got that tennis serve feeling to it, right? That action. What about the shot that you feel you need to improve on? Which one are you, where do you want to get better?
I want to get better on the double glass, like when people do bandejas or víboras into the glass and really getting prepared, side glass, back glass, and like double glass, and then hitting a deep cross-court lob. I think that could create more opportunities for me.
So in this case, what you're saying is that you tend to back out, because I see you doing a backhand movement. So you're backing out the double line as opposed to going around with it.
Right. Yeah. Or I do like what they say, bote pronto, and I block it before it hits the glass, which I do pretty well. Yeah. But there are times where I need to let it hit the glass, so I give myself more time and slow the pace down. So that's what I want to work on. Yeah.
Well, you're looking at Carolina Orsi. She's a tall woman. She plays left, but the way she sort of just approaches the ball, it's always relaxed and let it time, and where she could have hit a hard shot, she just strokes it back. And it's interesting how in tennis we tend to want to, take the early shot, the half volleys, rush into the net. Taking your time is such a different mindset for tennis players.
Yeah, 100%. It's like sometimes slowing it down, and the touch is way more effective than the pace. Yeah. So.
Well, lots to learn. I love it. Thank you for coming on the show, Brittany. Yeah. The future of paddle in the United States, how do you view it?
I think we have a lot of potential. I also think that if we can get some tennis girls come over to the paddle side, especially like 22-year-olds, it would be so nice, because with some training, 2 years of training and some tournaments, I think that we, coming from college tennis, have a lot of fight, a lot of
great athletes.
Great athletes. We know pressure situations, and I think we can really develop a lot of players. Also, it would be nice to have, some more support from our federation as well, in terms of providing training camps or scholarships for some players that we could train. And I think that will help grow U.S. paddle. I think there's a lot of excitement in the U.S. There's the U.S. Open happened this year. There's hopefully some premier tournaments. So there's a lot of exciting things. The PPL also brings a lot of players.
Did you play in the PPL?
Yeah, I was on the San Diego Stingrays team.
You had a good year.
Yeah, it was really fun. I mean, we had Lamberti on our team, Maxi Sanchez, Lucia Sainz, so just amazing. That's
fun to play with them, Lucia. I've had her on my show actually as well. Just last question, because you're talking about the tennis, bringing them in. I wonder about those critical points. Sometimes I watch a match and it's a break point or it's a critical match point, and it's amazing how we say in French, un petit bras. You have a moment where everything's tentative. Do you feel that is more or less the case than in tennis in those critical situations?
I think there's more.
Why?
You know what it is? I feel, also in FIP tournaments, there's still golden points.
Right.
So that also, every point is important.
Yeah.
Here we had a little more cushion, because the deuce and
deuces,
add.
yeah.
But I do feel like that makes it like a little more tense.
Every point, every shot almost becomes sensitive. And here's why I think that is because you have so many more choices in paddle. The ball's up in the air, it's a big lob, or what am I going to hit here? Last time I hit a bandeja, now I'm going to hit a viboja, and this time I'm going to go down the middle, I'm going to cross. You kind of have that in tennis, but not when it's up. You're just going to hit the ball, smack it.
Yeah.
Whereas in paddle, you got to think about it. What are we going to do here? It's three more, four or five more shots here. So is this shot 2, shot 3, shot 4? Where are we in the point? How's my partner feeling? And you have so much more time to think about things, and I think that is what gets under the skin. If you're not confident with your partner, not confident in you, there's so many. And even if you hit the shot in, you didn't hit it like you wanted to.
Yeah.
So you've got much more time to mull over everything all the time. Anyway, that's my thinking.
100%. Yeah, you answered that better than me.
Well, I've been playing, but I'm always interested to hear other people. Brilliant. I loved having you on. Thank you so much. What's the last word for paddle?
Oh, well, have fun, play, enjoy, and thank you so much.
My pleasure, Brittany. Thank you. Vamos.
Vamos.